It is late at night and your thoughts are heavy. You are tired, but your mind is still replaying the same worry about money. You have been working hard, yet the numbers in your account keep shrinking. This video is made to help you feel calm about money and yourself, even if your balance is low. We will talk about the real reasons you feel less worthy when money is tight and how to separate your value from your bank account. Across the next chapters, you will hear about the small and hidden ways money shame shows up in your daily life. You will learn how early family habits about spending and saving shaped the way you think today. You will hear how debt, comparison, and fear create an invisible weight on your shoulders. And you will learn gentle steps to create a sense of safety with money, even if you are still paying bills and making ends meet. We will walk slowly through stories that show you why your feelings around money are normal and how to change them without pressure. You will see how budgeting can feel like care instead of control. You will hear how to set up small money rituals that make you feel steady no matter your income. You will learn why your worth is not tied to your paycheck and how to hold on to that truth. By the end of this video, you will understand how to see money as a tool, not a measure of your value. You will know how to calm the anxious thoughts that keep you awake at night. You will have ideas you can try tomorrow that make your relationship with money softer and kinder. You will feel lighter and more confident, even if your financial situation has not yet changed. So stay with me until the end. We will start with the first part of the story, where we explore the quiet weight that comes from growing up with unspoken rules about money. These early lessons are often invisible, but they shape so much of how we feel today. And as you listen, you might start to notice where your own money story began. There is a certain heaviness that comes when you know the money will run out before the month does. It is not loud, it is not the kind of weight others can see. It is the quiet kind, the one that sits in your chest while you are at work, while you are folding laundry, while you are standing in line at the store. This chapter is about that quiet weight, where it comes from, and how it begins to shape the way you see yourself. When you are a child, you do not always understand the details of money, but you feel its presence or its absence. You hear the way adults talk about bills, even if you do not understand the numbers. You notice when your parents tense up at the mention of rent. You notice when groceries are bought in smaller amounts. These small observations start to plant seeds in your mind about what money means and what it says about the people who have it or do not. Maybe you grew up in a home where money was never discussed at all. That silence can feel safe when you are young, but it leaves gaps in your understanding. You might grow up thinking money is a mystery you are not supposed to touch, like a locked drawer in the kitchen. Then, when you start making your own money, you are expected to know what to do without ever having learned. That gap can turn into anxiety before you even realize it. For others, money might have been a constant point of stress in the house. You remember arguments about late bills. You remember the sigh of relief when a check finally cleared. You might even remember promises to do better next month, followed by the same cycle repeating. These memories settle into the way you relate to money as an adult, often without you knowing they are still there. The quiet weight of an empty wallet is not only about numbers, it is about identity. You start to think that your worth is connected to the amount you have. When you have more, you feel safer, lighter, maybe even proud. When you have less, you might feel like you are failing, even if you are doing everything you can. The truth is, your worth has never been tied to a number, but the world often makes it feel that way. Think about the moments when money shaped your day without you realizing it. Choosing not to go out with friends because you could not afford dinner, walking past a store you liked because you knew you could not buy anything. These moments build up, and over time, they can make you feel smaller. You start adjusting your dreams, not because you lack ability, but because you think you do not deserve them until your account looks a certain way. If this weight has followed you into adulthood, you are not alone in it. Many people feel a sense of shame when their finances are not where they want them to be. That shame is quiet, but powerful. It changes the way you speak about yourself. It changes the choices you make, even the ones that have nothing to do with money. And because it is quiet, it often goes unchallenged. One of the hardest parts is that this weight can make you believe you are the only one carrying it. You see the polished lives of others on social media. You hear about promotions, vacations, and new homes. You compare your real life to the highlight reels of others and feel like you are falling behind. But what you do not see are their quiet weights, the ones they do not post about. In this chapter, we start to separate the facts from the feelings. The fact is, money comes and goes. The fact is, an empty wallet today does not mean an empty life tomorrow. The feeling is where the real work lies, that deep fear that you are less valuable without money. This feeling is learned, not true, and what is learned can be unlearned. To begin lightening this weight, you have to notice when it shows up. It might be in the middle of the night, when you cannot sleep. It might be when you swipe your card and hold your breath, waiting for the transaction to go through. It might be when you avoid opening a bill because you already know what it says. These moments are signals, not proof that you are failing. When you start to notice them, you can choose a different response. You can pause and remind yourself that money is a resource, not a measure of your value. You can remember times you were resourceful even when money was tight. You can remind yourself of the people and skills in your life that do not have a price tag but still hold deep worth. This is not about pretending that financial stress is not there. It is about seeing it clearly without letting it decide who you are. When you stop tying your identity to your balance, you free yourself to make better decisions without shame clouding your vision. You begin to act from a place of self-respect instead of fear. As we move forward, we will talk about the roots of these money beliefs and how they show up in your daily life. We will look at the stories you learned about money in childhood and how they still affect you now, and you will see that the quiet weight of an empty wallet is not permanent. It is a feeling, and feelings can change. Because the next part of the story takes us back even further. To the first lessons about money you might not even remember learning, but that still live quietly in the background of your choices today. Most people think they first learned about money when they opened a bank account or got a paycheck. But the truth is, your earliest money lessons started years before that. They happened in the background, in moments so ordinary you did not even notice them. And those moments have been shaping the way you think, feel, and act with money ever since. Think about the small details of your childhood home. Was there a jar of coins on the counter, filling slowly over months? Was there a calendar with due dates marked in red? Did you notice your parents using cash, or did you see plastic cards more often? These quiet, repeated images built your first understanding of what money was and how it worked. You didn't know you were learning, but you were. Some lessons were in the words people spoke. Maybe you heard phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees." Maybe you heard, "We'll figure it out," or "Don't worry about it," whenever bills came up. The tone in those moments mattered as much as the words. If money talk felt tense, you might have learned to associate it with fear. If it felt casual, you might have learned that money comes and goes without much thought. Other lessons were taught without a single word. You might have seen your family skip certain purchases without explanation. You might have noticed them spending on some things easily, but hesitating on others. These choices showed you, without saying it directly, what they valued and what they believed was worth spending on. Over time, you absorbed those values as your own, even if they do not match what you believe today. It is important to see that none of these early lessons were your fault. You were a child observing the world around you, making sense of it in the only way you knew how. But those early understandings are powerful. They can influence whether you see money as a tool for comfort or as a constant source of stress. They can shape whether you believe you are good with money or bad with it, labels that often stick for decades. For example, if you grew up watching bills pile up on the table, you might believe adulthood is always stressful. If you saw money disappear quickly after payday, you might assume it is impossible to hold on to it. If you saw your family celebrate small financial wins, you might believe in the value of every dollar. These early associations still guide your choices now, whether you realize it or not. The challenge is that most people never stop to question these first lessons. They simply carry them forward, assuming they are true. But what was true in your childhood home might not be true in your life today. Your circumstances are different. Your opportunities are different. Your needs and values are different. Letting old rules decide your present is like wearing shoes you outgrew years ago. They no longer fit, and they quietly hurt. You do not need to erase your past to move forward. You only need to see it clearly. That clarity begins by asking yourself simple questions. What money phrases do I remember hearing? How did my family react to unexpected expenses? What purchases felt allowed, and which felt off-limits? These questions are not about blame. They are about awareness, which is the first step in change. When you bring these lessons into the light, you can choose which ones to keep and which to leave behind. You can decide to replace "I'll never have enough" with "I can plan for what matters most." You can replace talking about money causes fights with talking about money helps me feel secure. These are small shifts, but they change the way you experience your finances day to day. In the chapters ahead, we will look at how these early money lessons connect to feelings of worth. Because the truth is, your sense of value often gets tangled up with what you learned about money before you ever earned any. Untangling them will make it easier to see yourself as worthy, no matter what your bank account says. And that brings us to the next part of the story. The first time money and self-worth collided in a way you could feel, that moment often becomes the quiet starting point for years of beliefs about who you are and what you deserve. The early lessons about money that we spoke about in the last chapter were quiet and often hidden. They shaped the way you saw the world without you knowing it. But there usually comes a moment when those lessons turn into something you can feel in your chest. It is the moment money stops being only about bills or coins or numbers on a page. It becomes a mirror, and what you see reflected back is your own worth. That is the moment money and self-worth collide. For some people, that collision comes in childhood. It might be a school field trip that everyone was excited about. You brought home the permission slip, already picturing the bus ride and the lunch packed for the day. Then you heard the words, "We can't afford it." You stayed home while the other kids shared stories the next day. Nobody said you were less than them, but the feeling of being left out settled in quietly. For others, it happens in the teenage years. Maybe it was a dance, a sports team, or a class you wanted to join. You saw your friends wearing the right shoes or uniforms, and you knew your family couldn't buy them. You told yourself it didn't matter, but a part of you started to believe it did. You started to connect what you had or didn't have with who you were allowed to be. It can also happen much later, after you've already stepped into adulthood. You might remember your first job interview. You dressed the best you could. You gave every answer with care. Then they offered you a wage that barely covered your rent. It felt less like they were talking about a role and more like they were putting a price tag on you. You told yourself to be grateful for the offer, but part of you carried the thought that maybe this was all you were worth. The tricky part is that these moments are often not about the actual money involved. They are about what the situation seems to say about you. You begin to believe the amount you earn or the things you own say something about your value as a person. It is not a belief that comes from logic. It comes from repetition, from living in a world where money often decides who gets included and who does not. Once that belief takes root, it starts to guide your choices, often without you noticing. You might say yes to a job you dislike because the pay looks good on paper, even though it leaves you drained every day. You might spend money on things you cannot afford because you want to look like you belong in certain circles. You might hold back from pursuing something meaningful because it does not promise a big paycheck. All of these choices have the same root, the thought that money proves your worth. When you live with this belief long enough, it can feel like it has always been true. But beliefs are not facts. A paycheck is not a measure of kindness. A bank account balance is not proof of intelligence. Your worth is made up of things that numbers cannot measure. The way you show up for people, the ideas you bring to life, the moments of care you give without asking for anything back. None of those depend on your income. Still, it takes awareness to untangle money from self-worth. Awareness begins by going back to that first collision moment and looking at it clearly. Ask yourself what actually happened. Did staying home from the trip mean you were less interesting or less valuable than the classmates who went? Did a low salary offer mean you had nothing to offer the world? Or did those moments say more about circumstances, timing, and systems than about you as a person? When you look closely, you start to see that the messages you took in were not complete truths. They were shaped by situations outside of your control, your family's income, the job market, the resources around you at the time. But the part of you that connected those moments to your worth did not know that yet. It just remembered the feeling of being on the outside, and it carried that forward. Once you see that connection, you can start to change it. You can notice when you are using money as a scoreboard for your life. You can pause before deciding your value based on a number. You can remind yourself that you have been valuable in every season of your life, even the ones when your wallet was nearly empty. This shift does not happen overnight. It is a slow process, like loosening a knot that has been tight for years. But every time you notice the belief showing up and choose not to follow it, the knot gets smaller. You start to breathe more easily. You start to make decisions based on what matters to you, not just what might impress others or match their expectations. It can help to think about what you want your future self to remember about this time. Do you want them to remember that you measured every day by your income? Or do you want them to remember that you chose things that made you feel alive, even if they did not always pay the most? That choice is not about ignoring the importance of money. It is about refusing to let money alone decide who you are. The truth is, separating money from self-worth does not take away the challenges of managing your finances, but it changes the way you approach them. Without shame clouding your view, you can make clearer choices. Without tying your value to your balance, you can focus on building a life that feels steady and meaningful, even in times of scarcity. This is why looking back at that first collision moment matters so much. When you name it, you take away some of its power. You stop letting it set the rules for how you see yourself today, and you make room for a new set of rules, ones that measure worth in ways that no bank account can. In the next chapter, we move into the early adult years, where the lessons from childhood and those first collisions begin to mix with real-life responsibilities. It is the stage where you start earning your own income, paying your own bills, and facing the quiet reality of how easy it is to repeat old patterns without realizing it. This is where the financial fog can grow heavier, but also where you can start to see a path through it. You remember the first time you had your own income. It might have been a paycheck from a part-time job, a summer job, or a full-time role after school. That moment felt like a small door opening into a new part of life. You were no longer only watching how other people handled money. Now, you were the one making choices. That shift brought freedom, but it also brought a quiet pressure you had never felt before. When you earned your own money, the lessons from your childhood came with you. You didn't pack them in a bag, but they traveled with you anyway. At the same time, the early collision moments with self-worth still lived in the back of your mind. The way you saw yourself was still tied, in subtle ways, to how much you had. At first, it might have felt exciting. Rent was due every month. Bills arrived whether you were ready or not. Groceries, transportation, and the unexpected costs of daily life started to chip away at the numbers on your paycheck. You learned that earning money was only half the challenge. The other half was keeping enough to feel safe. This is often when the financial fog grows thicker. You are working hard, but the balance in your account never seems to grow. You wonder if you are doing something wrong. You wonder if everyone else has figured out some secret that you missed. The truth is, most people in their early earning years feel the same way, but few talk about it openly. That silence can make you feel like the only one struggling. The patterns you learned in childhood can start to replay here without you noticing. If you grew up watching people spend as soon as they got paid, you might follow the same rhythm. If you grew up seeing people avoid spending entirely, you might feel guilty buying even the things you need. If money was tied to self-worth, you might push yourself to earn more at the cost of your health, thinking the extra hours prove your value. In these early years, mistakes often feel bigger than they are. Maybe you overdrew your account once and felt embarrassed for days. Maybe you missed a payment and worried it meant you were bad with money. These moments can feed into old beliefs, making the quiet weight you carry even heavier. But mistakes are not verdicts. They are part of learning, especially when you are building your money skills from scratch. Some people in this stage try to ignore their money completely. They stop checking their balance because they don't want to see the number. They pay bills as they come, but avoid planning ahead. This can feel like a relief in the short term, but it often leads to more stress later. Others go in the opposite direction, tracking every cent, cutting out anything that feels unnecessary, and treating money management like a constant test they have to pass. This can also create stress because life begins to feel like a list of restrictions. The balance lies somewhere in between. It starts with seeing money as part of your life, not your whole life. It is a resource you work with, not a ruler you measure yourself against. In these first years, your focus can shift from proving your worth to learning how to use money in a way that supports you. That shift takes time, and it requires you to question the patterns you inherited. Part of stepping into your own money story is deciding which lessons from your past still serve you. Maybe you keep the habit of saving for emergencies, but you let go of the guilt around spending on things that bring you joy. Maybe you keep the awareness of what bills are coming, but you stop assuming that a low balance means you have failed. You are allowed to update your story so it fits the life you are building now. This stage also brings the chance to define what financial safety means for you. For some, it is having a certain amount saved. For others, it is knowing their bills are covered each month without stress. The definition is personal, and it can change over time. When you know what safety looks like for you, It becomes easier to make choices that align with it rather than chasing someone else's idea of success. The early earning years are full of learning curves, but they also hold opportunities to build habits that last a lifetime. Small, consistent steps, like setting aside a little from each paycheck or reviewing your expenses once a month, can help you feel more in control. Even when the amounts are small, the act of being intentional can start to loosen the connection between money and self-worth. You are no longer letting the balance decide how you feel. You are deciding for yourself. Still, this is not an easy stage. The pressure to keep up with peers can be strong. Social invitations, online comparisons, and the temptation to spend for appearance's sake are everywhere. Learning to say no when it protects your financial well-being is part of building self-respect. That self-respect is worth far more than any purchase made to avoid feeling left out. Over time, as you navigate bills, paychecks, and daily expenses, you begin to see that this stage is not only about learning to manage money, it is about learning to manage the stories you tell yourself about money. You start to realize that your worth is not up for debate every time you check your account. You start to see that your value stays the same in both lean months and abundant ones. As we move forward, the story will shift into the moments where these lessons are tested. The next chapter will take us into the first big financial shock of adulthood, an event that shakes your stability and forces you to decide whether you will fall back into old beliefs or start building new ones. There comes a point in nearly every young adult's life when the smooth, if fragile, rhythm of earning and spending is interrupted. It might be a sudden job loss. It might be a medical bill you didn't see coming. It might be a car breaking down or an unexpected move. Whatever form it takes, it stops you in your tracks. This is the first big financial shock, and it often leaves a mark that lasts far beyond the moment itself. At first, there is disbelief. You look at the bill or the notice and think there must be some mistake. You check it again, hoping the numbers will look different the second time. They do not, and with that, you feel a shift. The balance between what you have and what you owe tilts, and you realize you are no longer standing on steady ground. If you grew up with a constant sense of financial uncertainty, this moment can feel familiar, even if the situation is new. The same tightness in your chest, the same quick thoughts about what can be cut, the same instinct to hide the problem until you find a solution. If your childhood was more financially stable, the shock might hit even harder, because it challenges the belief that things like this don't happen to people like you. The emotional weight of a financial shock can be heavier than the numbers themselves. You might feel ashamed even if the situation was out of your control. You might feel embarrassed to tell friends or family, worried they will see you differently. You might even blame yourself, replaying every decision you made in the months before, wondering which one caused this moment. This is where the link between money and self-worth can tighten again. If you already believed that your value is tied to your financial stability, a setback can feel like a personal failure. The risk here is that you start to see yourself as someone who is bad with money or not responsible enough, even if the truth is far more complex. The first reaction for many people is to go into survival mode. You cut spending to the bone. You put off anything that is not essential. You might take on extra work, even if it leaves you exhausted. Survival mode can help you get through the immediate crisis, but if it lasts too long, it can become your default way of living. And when you live in constant survival mode, it is hard to think about long-term plans or self-worth that exists outside of your bank balance. This is also the stage where old money patterns often resurface. If you learn to avoid looking at your finances when things got hard, you might ignore bills or account balances for weeks. If you learned to control every detail, you might spend hours running numbers, searching for a perfect plan that still feels just out of reach. In both cases, the focus stays on the fear rather than the bigger picture. Recovering from a first financial shock is rarely quick, but it can be a turning point. It can be the moment you begin to see that your worth does not disappear when your balance drops. It can be when you learn to separate temporary challenges from permanent identity. And it can be when you start building habits that protect your sense of self, even when money is tight. One way to begin shifting is to tell yourself the truth about what happened without judgment. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible with money," you can say, "I had an unexpected expense that I wasn't prepared for." Instead of saying, "I'll never recover," you can say, "This will take time, and I've handled hard things before." These shifts in language are small, but they make space for self-respect alongside financial problem solving. Another part of recovery is finding small actions that restore a sense of control. Maybe you set up a basic emergency fund, even if it starts with only a few dollars. Maybe you talk to someone you trust about what happened, breaking the isolation that often comes with money stress. Maybe you make a plan for how to cover the next month, focusing on one step at a time instead of the whole road ahead. Over time, you begin to see that a financial shock does not have to define you. It is a chapter in your money story, not the whole book. You can learn from it without letting it decide your future. And you can carry forward a deeper understanding of what stability means to you, along with a clearer view of the habits that keep you grounded. Still, even after you've moved past the crisis, the memory stays. It can make you more cautious, which can be helpful, but it can also make you fearful in moments when you don't need to be. Part of healing is learning to hold the memory without letting it control every decision you make. The next chapter will take us to a moment like this, when the fear from a past financial shock shows up in a new situation, and you have to decide whether to follow the old pattern or create a new one. This is where the real shift toward separating money from self-worth begins to take shape. By the time you make it through your first big financial shock, there is a part of you that breathes easier. The urgent crisis passes. You have paid what needed to be paid or made the arrangements to do so. The lights are still on, you are still here. On the surface, it seems like life can go back to normal. But beneath that surface, something has shifted. The memory of that shock, the fear it carried, and the tension it left in your body do not vanish as quickly as the event itself. Old fears have a way of following you into new chapters of life. They do not arrive loudly, they settle in quietly, showing up in moments you do not expect. You might be in a completely different place now. You may be earning more money or have a small cushion saved. But a bill in the mail or a dip in your account balance can still make your chest tighten. Without realizing it, you are reacting not just to the present moment, but to the echo of the past one. You might notice these echoes in the way you make decisions. You pass up something you need because you worry it will lead to a shortage later. You check your bank balance more than you actually need to, looking for reassurance that it is still there. Or you avoid checking it at all because you are afraid of feeling the old panic again. These are not flaws, they are habits built to protect you, but they can keep you in a place of quiet tension, long after the danger is gone. Fear also affects how you view yourself. Even after you had recovered from a setback, part of you might still believe you are at risk of losing everything again. That belief can make you feel like you are standing on shaky ground, even when the floor under you is stronger than it has been in years. It can cause you to live as if you are always in survival mode, preparing for a storm that may never come. Living this way can limit more than your spending. It can limit your joy, your opportunities, and your sense of freedom. You might say no to experiences that would add meaning to your life because you cannot separate them from the fear of instability. You might hold on to every dollar so tightly that you forget money is also meant to support your well-being. This is not because you are unwilling to live fully. It is because your body and mind remember the weight of the last time things fell apart. The patterns formed in moments of scarcity are strong. They helped you get through hard times, but they are not always the patterns that help you grow. Recognizing when you are making choices from past fear instead of present reality is one of the most important skills you can develop. That awareness is like a light in the fog. It does not erase the fog immediately, but it shows you where you are and helps you choose your path with more clarity. Start by noticing when a decision feels heavier than it should. Ask yourself if the fear you are feeling matches the reality in front of you. Are you responding to the current numbers or to the memory of a past moment when you felt unsafe? This is not about forcing the fear to disappear. It is about giving yourself enough space to choose differently if you want to. With practice, you can replace some of the old survival habits with habits that make you feel safe in a new way. You might keep a small emergency fund and add to it regularly, even if the amount is modest. You might create a simple spending plan that includes something that brings you comfort, not just the bare essentials. You might let yourself replace an item that is worn out without guilt as a reminder that you are allowed to care for your needs. These small actions send signals to your nervous system that you are not in the same place you were before. They help retrain your mind to see money as a resource you work with, rather than a test you must pass every day. Over time, the fear still shows up, but it becomes a quieter voice instead of the one making every decision. Letting go of old fears is not about pretending they never existed. It is about finding a way to carry them differently. You can acknowledge what happened, respect the lessons it taught you, and still choose to live in a way that reflects your current stability. This shift will not happen overnight, but each choice you make from a place of trust rather than fear is a step forward. This chapter is about noticing the ways the past still moves through the present and giving yourself the chance to choose new patterns. In the next part of the story, we will explore what happens when you test those new patterns for the first time. It is the moment when you make a choice that goes against the old fear, when you spend, save, or take a step that reflects the life you have now instead of the life you had then. And it is often in that moment that you begin to see just how much your money story can change. There is always a first time when you make a decision that does not follow the old pattern. It might seem small from the outside. No one else would know it was a turning point. But for you, it feels like standing at the edge of something new. This is the moment when you choose not to let fear guide the way. It often begins with hesitation. You see something you want or need, and the first thought that rises is the old warning. Be careful, you might regret this. The warning feels familiar. It has been part of your life for so long that you almost move on without questioning it. But this time, something makes you pause. You ask yourself if the situation in front of you is the same as the one your fear remembers. Sometimes the decision is about spending money. It might be replacing a worn-out pair of shoes without waiting for them to fall apart completely. It might be saying yes to a weekend trip with a friend, even though you could put that money into savings instead. It might be buying a tool or resource that will make your daily life easier, even if it is not strictly essential. Other times, the decision is about how you manage your money. It might be setting up an automatic transfer into savings for the first time, trusting that you can handle the change. It might be paying a bill early instead of waiting until the last moment. It might be reviewing your budget with curiosity instead of fear, seeing it as a guide rather than a report card. The point is not the size of the decision, but the shift in the way you make it. You are no longer reacting to the past. You are acting from the present. You are taking into account what you have now, the stability you have built, and the tools you have learned to use. The decision is made with awareness instead of instinct, with self-trust instead of self-protection. That shift can feel uncomfortable at first. Part of you still wants to cling to the safety of old patterns. You may feel guilt, as if spending on yourself means you are being careless. You may worry that allowing a little more ease means you are not taking your future seriously enough. These feelings are normal. They are simply the voice of habits that have been with you for a long time. What matters is how you respond to those feelings. Instead of letting them close the door, you can acknowledge them and keep moving forward. You can remind yourself that taking care of yourself now does not mean ignoring the future. It means trusting that you can meet both your present and future needs in a balanced way. The more you practice making choices from your current reality, the more your confidence grows. You begin to see that you can trust yourself with money. You can spend when it adds to your life, and you can save when it supports your security. You do not have to swing between extremes of fear and avoidance. You can live in the space between, where money becomes a partner rather than a source of constant stress. This first step beyond fear often brings unexpected benefits. You may notice you feel lighter after making the decision. You might find yourself thinking less about money late at night. You might even feel a quiet pride in knowing you are no longer letting the past dictate every choice. These changes build on each other, making the next step a little easier each time. With each new decision, you strengthen the separation between your worth and your wallet. You begin to see that you are capable of handling challenges without losing sight of your value. You start to measure yourself by how you treat your own needs and goals, not by the balance in your account on any given day. This is the slow, steady work of rewriting your money story. It is not about sudden transformations or dramatic leaps. It is about small, consistent actions that build a foundation you can stand on. Each choice made from trust rather than fear is like adding another stone to that foundation. Over time, it becomes strong enough to carry you through the unexpected without shaking your sense of self. In the next chapter, we will see how this growing self-trust changes the way you approach bigger decisions. It is one thing to take a small step beyond fear. It is another to face a larger opportunity or challenge and respond from a place of confidence. That is where your new relationship with money begins to show its true strength. Small decisions are where trust begins, but there comes a point when the choices in front of you grow larger. They carry more weight, more uncertainty, and more potential to shift your path. This is where the work you have done, the quiet steps beyond fear, the separation between your worth and your wallet, is tested in a new way. It often starts with an opportunity that feels both exciting and unsettling. It might be moving to a new apartment that costs a little more, but offers safety, space, or a location that improves your daily life. It might be enrolling in a class or training program that will help your career, even if it means spending money you have been carefully saving. It might be accepting a job that pays less, but gives you back your time, your health, and your peace of mind. The size of the decision is not only about the numbers, it is about how much it asks you to trust yourself. In the past, fear might have made the choice for you. You would have gone with the option that felt safest in the moment, even if it meant turning away from something you wanted. Now, you pause and look at the whole picture. You ask what will serve you not only today, but in the years ahead. Making bigger choices requires you to look beyond short-term comfort. It asks you to believe that you are capable of handling the outcomes, even if they are not perfect. That belief does not mean ignoring risks. It means weighing them alongside the potential benefits and deciding from a place of balance rather than fear. The process may still feel uncomfortable. You might notice old doubts returning, telling you to stay where you are and avoid any change that costs money. You might feel the pull to overanalyze every detail, hoping to find a decision that removes all uncertainty. But part of trust is knowing that no choice is without risk. What matters is whether you are making the choice in alignment with your values and your current reality. This is where the skills you have been building become visible. You know how to check in with your priorities. You know how to create a simple plan for the steps ahead. You know how to set aside some safety and savings while still allowing room for experiences that matter to you. These skills are not flashy, but they are the steady foundation that allows you to take bigger steps with more ease. When you choose from this place of self-trust, the result is not only about the outcome of the decision, it is about what it says to yourself. I believe in my ability to handle what comes next. That belief stays with you, and it makes the next big decision feel less like a leap into the unknown and more like a walk toward something you have chosen for yourself. You might notice that this shift changes the way you respond to others as well. When friends or family talk about their own financial choices, you no longer compare yourself in the same way. You can respect their decisions without feeling the need to match them. You can stand by your own path, even if it looks different, because you know it fits your life. These bigger decisions also help untangle worth from wealth even further. You start to see that your value is reflected in how you care for your well-being, not in how much money you keep untouched. You recognize that investing in yourself, whether through time, education, or living in a place that supports you, is not wasteful. It is a sign that you see yourself as worth the investment. The more you practice making choices like this, the more natural they become. You still prepare carefully, you still think through the numbers, but you no longer let fear be the deciding voice. Instead, you listen to a mix of practical planning and self-respect. You make space for both security and growth, knowing they are not enemies, but partners. In the next chapter, we will explore how these bigger choices can open the door to something many people never expect. A sense of financial peace that is not tied to a perfect income or flawless budgeting. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can make decisions, handle challenges, and care for your needs without letting fear take over. And once you feel that, your relationship with money changes in ways that last a lifetime. Reaching a place of financial peace is not about having endless money. It is not about never facing another bill that makes you stop and think. It is about something smaller, something steadier, a quiet confidence that you know how to respond to whatever comes next. It is the shift from reacting with fear to choosing with calm. It is built one choice at a time, and it grows slowly, often without you realizing it at first. This kind of peace often begins in moments that look ordinary from the outside. Paying your rent on time, covering an unexpected expense without borrowing, saying yes to something that matters to you without guilt. None of these moments seem dramatic, but together they become proof that you can handle your life. Each time you navigate a situation with clarity, you strengthen the part of yourself that trusts your own decisions. Financial peace changes the way you see your bank balance. The number is still important, but it is no longer the only measure of safety. You can look at it without letting it decide your mood. When it is higher, you feel grateful, not untouchable. When it is lower, you feel alert, not unworthy. You begin to see the balance as one part of a bigger picture. A picture that includes your habits, your values, and your ability to adapt. It also changes the way you think about spending. In the past, fear might have pushed you to avoid any expense that felt unnecessary, even if it could improve your life. Now, you pause, you think it through, and you ask yourself what will serve you in the long term. Sometimes that answer is to save. Sometimes it is to spend in a way that adds ease, connection, or opportunity. The choice is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about supporting the life you are building. This shift allows you to plan differently. Instead of chasing a number that feels like enough, you focus on creating a plan that matches your priorities. You set goals that feel realistic, not punishing. You save for the things that matter to you, not because you are afraid of what might happen if you do not, but because you want to create space for what matters in the future. And when you spend, you do it without the weight of old guilt because you know you have made the decision with care. One of the most powerful changes is the way you respond to fear when it appears. Because even in a place of peace, fear will still show up sometimes. You will still have moments when a sudden expense or an unexpected change makes you tense. But now, instead of letting fear decide your next step, you use it as a signal to pause. You look at the numbers, you consider your options, and you take action from a place of awareness rather than panic. Financial peace also shows in the small, everyday choices that add up over time. Choosing food that nourishes you without calculating every single item in your cart. Taking a day to rest without feeling like you are wasting time you could be earning. Saying yes to a small gift for someone you love without worrying that it will undo your progress. These choices are not about carelessness. They are about living in a way that balances stability with quality of life. The mental space that comes with this peace is something you might not expect. When money is no longer the constant backdrop of worry in your mind, other parts of your life have room to grow. You can think about your dreams without the noise of fear. You can focus on relationships, hobbies, and personal growth without feeling pulled back into survival mode. That mental space is one of the most valuable things financial peace gives you, but this peace does not mean you will never face another challenge. Life will still hand you situations that test your plans and your confidence. The difference is that you now have proof in your own history that you can face those moments and come through them without losing yourself. You have learned to separate your worth from your balance, your identity from your income. You have learned that you are allowed to feel secure even in seasons of change. The journey to this point has not been about perfection. It has been about consistency. It has been about choosing to trust yourself again and again, even when it felt uncomfortable. It has been about slowly replacing fear with a kind of steadiness that does not depend on perfect circumstances. And it has been about remembering, in each choice, that money is a tool to support your life, not a test of your value. The next part of the story will bring a moment when that peace is put to the test. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in a real-life situation where the old fears could return. We will see how the calm you have built changes the way you move through it, and why this difference matters more than any number in your account. Even with a steady rhythm in your financial life, surprises still come. Some are small, like a bill that is higher than you expected. Others arrive with more weight, like a sudden repair, a change in work hours, or a medical cost that cannot wait. In the past, moments like these might have felt like the ground disappearing under you. But now, with the quiet confidence you have built, the reaction is different. The first feeling may still be surprise. You open an email or a letter, or you get a phone call that brings new information. For a moment, your chest tightens and your mind begins to race. This is the echo of the old fear, reminding you that you have been here before. But then, something new happens. You pause, you take a breath. You remember that you are not the same person you were in the days when fear decided everything. Instead of rushing into action without thinking, you give yourself a moment to look at the full picture. You check what resources you have, both in your account and in your plans. You consider your options with a calm that feels unfamiliar compared to the past. It is not that you enjoy the challenge. No one enjoys an unexpected expense, but you meet it without the same sense of collapse. This is one of the hidden benefits of financial peace. It changes not only how you plan for the future, but how you stand in the present when things go wrong. The habit of pausing, of checking in before reacting, allows you to see more than one path forward. You notice that you have choices, even if none of them feel perfect. You are not trapped in the false urgency that used to make you say yes to the first option you saw. The difference also shows in your self-talk. In the past, a situation like this might have triggered a stream of harsh thoughts. I should have been more careful, or I am terrible with money. Now, the words you choose are softer and more truthful. This is frustrating, but I can handle it, or I have made progress before, and I can do it again. This shift in language matters more than most people realize. It keeps you connected to your self-worth, even when your balance is shifting. You might still need to adjust. Maybe you decide to delay a non-urgent purchase. Maybe you move money from savings to cover the gap. Maybe you take on a little extra work for a short time. These actions are practical, but they are not made from panic. They are made from a place of choosing rather than reacting. And when a decision comes from choice, it feels lighter to carry. In moments like this, you see how much your habits have changed. You know how to separate a temporary setback from a lasting problem. You do not confuse a single month's challenge with a judgment on your entire financial future. You understand that a stable life is not one without surprises, but one where surprises do not undo the foundation you have built. There is also a kind of quiet pride that comes from handling an unexpected expense without falling back into old patterns. You notice the absence of that constant knot in your stomach. You notice that you sleep without the same restless worry that once followed news like this. These are small but powerful signs that your relationship with money has shifted in a way that will last. Of course, the feelings are not all ease. There might still be moments when the old fears knock on the door. You might still feel the urge to cut back on everything, to prepare for the worst, even when it is not necessary. But now, you recognize these thoughts for what they are. Echoes of a time when you had fewer tools and less stability. You can thank those instincts for trying to protect you, and then choose the path that fits your life today. This ability to respond rather than react is what allows you to keep moving forward. You can address the challenge without letting it take more from you than it has to. You can take care of the problem without giving it your peace of mind. And when it is resolved, you can return to your plans without feeling like you have to start over completely. Handling an unexpected expense in this way is not about perfection. It is about balance. It is about being able to hold both the reality of the cost and the truth that you are still safe, still capable, still worthy. And each time you do it, you reinforce the trust you have been building with yourself. In the next chapter, we will see how this trust opens the door to something even more important. The freedom to start thinking about what you want to create in your life, rather than only what you need to protect. Because once you know you can handle the unexpected, you can turn more of your energy toward building something new. For much of your journey, the focus has been on keeping things from breaking apart. You learned to watch every expense closely, to prepare for surprises, and to react quickly when something went wrong. This way of living was not a choice you made lightly. It was what you needed to do to feel safe when your financial foundation was still fragile. Every step was about protecting yourself from the next unexpected turn. That kind of focus builds discipline, but it can also become a habit that is hard to release. Even after you have built some stability, it is easy to keep operating as if you are still one step away from disaster. You save, but you do not allow yourself to spend on anything that feels unnecessary. You make plans, but you keep them small because big plans feel risky. The habit of protection becomes so natural that you might not even realize it is still running your decisions. There comes a point, though, when you notice something has shifted. You see that you have weathered challenges without falling apart. You have faced unexpected bills and changes in income, and each time you handled them. The plans you made worked. You may have had to adjust along the way, but you stayed steady. That realization opens the door to a new question. What if your financial life could be about more than just protection? Moving into creation mode means looking beyond avoiding loss. It means starting to think about what you want to build and what you want your life to feel like. This is not about throwing caution aside. It is about making space for both safety and growth. You begin to ask yourself not only, how do I stay safe, but also, what am I building with the safety I already have? At first, this can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. If you have spent years in a defensive posture, the idea of investing in joy, growth, or new experiences might seem almost irresponsible. A part of you may still believe that wanting more than the basics is greedy or dangerous. But another part knows that a life built only on defense can start to feel small. You begin to sense that building something meaningful is also a way to protect yourself, not from loss, but from a life that feels empty. The first step in creation is clarity about your values. You look at the moments in life that matter most to you and ask yourself why they matter. Maybe it is having time with people you love. Maybe it is the freedom to rest without guilt. Maybe it is pursuing a project or dream that has been quietly waiting in the back of your mind. These are not luxuries. They are the foundation for a life that feels worth living. Once you know what matters, your financial decisions begin to change. You still save for emergencies, but you also save for goals that bring you joy. You make room in your budget for experiences and investments that match your values. You still prepare for the unexpected, but you also prepare for opportunities. Instead of putting all your resources toward avoiding harm, you start putting some toward creating good. This change also shifts the way you measure success. In protection mode, progress is about how much you have saved or how much debt you have paid down. Those are still important, but now you add new measures. Did you spend time on what matters most? Did you take steps toward a personal goal? Did you create moments of rest, connection, or learning? These become part of your progress too. Creation mode does not erase caution. It works alongside it. You still keep a safety net, but you no longer treat it as the only goal. You give yourself permission to use money in ways that build the life you want, not just shield you from the life you fear. This balance can be different for everyone. Some months, you will lean more towards saving and security. Other months, you will invest more in growth and experience. The key is that both are part of your plan. Over time, money begins to feel less like something you guard and more like something you shape. You are not holding it tightly out of fear. You are directing it with intention toward the life you want to live. And because your decisions are based on your values, each dollar you spend or save carries more meaning. This stage also changes the way you see time. In protection mode, you often focus on the immediate future, the next bill, the next paycheck, the next month. In creation mode, you start to see your life in seasons and years. You understand how your choices today shape what you will have, feel, and experience later. This longer view brings a sense of stability that does not depend on avoiding every possible risk. Living in creation mode also deepens your trust in yourself. You no longer see your ability to make good decisions as something fragile. You have proof from your own history that you can handle change and still move toward your goals. This trust makes it easier to try new things and to say yes to opportunities that once would have felt too risky. Most importantly, creation mode allows you to see your worth in a new way. It is no longer tied to how much you save or how perfectly you avoid mistakes. It is reflected in how you care for both your present and your future, and the way you choose to build a life that feels like your own. The next chapter will show how these ideas turn into something solid, the daily and weekly habits that keep you moving toward your vision. Because while big goals matter, it is the small, steady actions that make them real. And when you put those habits in place, creation becomes not just a choice, but a way of living. When you decide to shift from protection to creation, the first vision you have might feel exciting. You picture the changes you want to make, the experiences you want to have, and the goals you want to reach. But visions alone do not hold their shape. Without steady habits, they can fade back into the background of daily life. This is why small, consistent actions matter so much. They turn your ideas into something you can live, not just imagine. Habits are the bridge between your values and your reality. They are the quiet, repeated choices that move you toward what matters, even when you are not thinking about them all the time. When it comes to money, these habits do not need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler they are, the more likely they are to last. The goal is not to fill your days with tasks, but to create gentle rhythms that support your vision without overwhelming you. One powerful habit is checking in with your money on a regular schedule. This is not about staring at your balance every day with worry. It is about setting aside a calm, short moment each week to look at where you stand. You can see what has come in, what has gone out, and whether those movements reflect your priorities. Over time, this check-in becomes a space of awareness rather than stress. It keeps you connected to your plan without letting it take over your thoughts. Another useful habit is setting clear categories for your spending that reflect the life you want to create. Instead of thinking only in terms of needs and wants, you might have categories like growth, connection, and comfort. This small shift changes the way you view your expenses. A dinner with friends is not simply a want, it is an investment in connection. A class you sign up for is not just a cost, it is part of your growth. Framing your spending this way helps you see how it supports your overall vision. Saving also becomes more intentional with the right habits. Instead of saving whatever is left over, you set a regular amount aside for both security and creation. Some of that savings might be for emergencies, and some might be for a future project, trip, or experience. This balance makes it easier to save consistently without resentment. Tracking progress is another habit that keeps you motivated. But instead of only tracking numbers, you also track the experiences and changes those numbers make possible. You might write down the moments you were able to say yes without fear. You might note the skills you invested in, the connections you strengthened, or the time you freed for rest. These reminders show you that progress is not only measured in dollars, it is measured in the life you are building. A less obvious but equally important habit is practicing mindful spending. This means pausing before purchases, not to judge yourself, but to ask if this expense supports your values. The question is not, do I deserve this? But does this align with the life I'm creating? This small pause can shift the way you relate to money over time, making each decision feel more intentional and less automatic. Consistency is what gives these habits their power. They do not need to be perfect. Missing a week's check-in or spending outside your plan once in a while does not erase your progress. What matters is returning to the habits again and again until they become part of the way you live. With time, they stop feeling like work and start feeling like natural parts of your routine. These habits also protect you from drifting back into old patterns. When life gets busy, it is easy to let go of the structures that support your goals. But simple habits are easier to maintain, even during challenging times. They act as anchors, keeping you connected to your vision when distractions and demands pull at your attention. Most importantly, habits help you trust yourself. Each time you follow through on a habit, you prove to yourself that you can take care of both your present and your future. That trust builds on itself, making it easier to make bigger decisions with confidence. You no longer have to wonder if you are capable of sticking to your plans. You have the history to show that you are. In the next chapter, we will see how these habits, once they are steady, can create room for something many people overlook: generosity. Not just generosity toward others, but also toward yourself. We will explore how giving, in its many forms, can become part of a balanced, fulfilling financial life without threatening the stability you have worked so hard to build. When you have reached a point where your financial life feels steady, something shifts. You are no longer spending every ounce of energy guarding what you have. You are no longer checking your account with the same knot in your stomach. You have habits that protect you, plans that guide you, and a sense of trust that you can handle what comes. And from this place, a new question begins to rise. How do you want to share what you have? Generosity takes many forms, and it is not only about giving money, it can be about sharing time, offering skills, giving attention, or creating space for others to feel supported. But when you reach a level of financial stability, you can choose to include financial generosity as part of your life without threatening your own security. This is not about giving recklessly. It is about deciding with care where you want your money to flow beyond your own needs. For some, this begins with small acts: helping a friend with a bill, contributing to a cause that feels personal, covering a meal without expecting repayment. These moments may seem small in the numbers, but they are large in their meaning. They remind you that money is not only for survival or comfort, it can also be a way to connect, to show care, and to strengthen the ties between people. Generosity also changes the way you see your own progress. Instead of measuring success only by what you keep, you measure it by what you are able to give without fear. That might mean setting aside a small part of your budget each month for giving. It might mean saying yes when an opportunity to help comes along, knowing you can do it without putting yourself at risk. This shift turns money from something you hold tightly into something that flows with purpose. It is important, though, to approach generosity with balance. Giving from a place of guilt or pressure can lead to resentment. Giving from a place of stability and intention feels entirely different. This is why generosity is often best planned, rather than left to impulse. When you include it in your budget, even in a small amount, you make sure that it is sustainable. That way, generosity becomes a consistent part of your life, not something you can only do when extra money happens to be available. Generosity also invites a different kind of reflection. You start to think about the impact you want to have beyond your own life. You may realize that part of your financial purpose is to help others reach the security you have found. This might be through direct help, through supporting organizations that provide resources, or through teaching and sharing what you have learned. However it takes shape, it deepens the meaning of the stability you have built. Sometimes generosity will ask you to give in ways that are not comfortable, but are still right for you. You might choose to support a friend during a difficult time, even if it means delaying something for yourself. You might decide to donate to a cause when you know it will make a real difference, even if it slightly adjusts your own plans. The balance here comes from knowing the difference between a choice that stretches you in a healthy way and one that puts you in harm's way. In this way, generosity becomes not just an act, but a practice. You build it into your financial life the same way you build in saving or investing. You see it as a way to keep your relationship with money grounded in connection rather than fear. Over time, you may even notice that giving adds to your own sense of abundance. It reminds you that you have enough to share, and that enough is not always about the exact numbers in your account. Including generosity in your financial life also helps protect you from slipping back into old scarcity patterns. When you give regularly, even in small amounts, you reinforce the belief that there is enough. This belief does not make you careless, it makes you intentional. You still plan and protect, but you do it with the understanding that your resources are not meant to stay frozen. They are meant to support both your life and the lives you choose to touch. The next chapter will explore how generosity, once it is part of your rhythm, can transform the way you see your own goals. Because when giving is built into your plan, you begin to dream differently, not only for yourself, but for the people and communities you care about. Those dreams often grow bigger than anything you imagined when your only focus was survival. And they can change your relationship with money in ways that last for the rest of your life. When generosity becomes part of your life, the way you define success begins to change. In the past, success might have meant reaching a certain number in your savings account or finally paying off a debt. It might have been about earning a specific salary, buying a home, or being able to afford certain comforts. Those goals still have value, but when generosity is part of your rhythm, the meaning of success grows beyond yourself. Now, success is not only about what you achieve or keep, it is also about the impact you create. It is about the ways your resources, whether money, time, or energy, reach beyond your own needs and become part of something bigger. You begin to measure progress not only by what you have built for yourself, but also by what you have been able to contribute to the lives of others. This shift does not happen overnight. It starts quietly. You might notice it the first time you give without hesitation, not because you have extra, but because you have made space for it. You realize that giving does not take away from your security when it is done with care. Instead, it adds to your sense of abundance. You feel the calm of knowing you are stable and the warmth of knowing you are helping someone else find their footing too. The more this becomes a habit, the more it changes how you think about your financial plans. You still set goals for yourself, retirement savings, paying off a mortgage, starting a project, but now, right alongside those goals, you also set intentions for your giving. You think about the causes you want to support, the people you want to help, and the opportunities you want to create. These are no longer occasional acts. They are part of your financial vision. Generosity also changes how you respond to challenges. In the past, a setback might have meant shutting down all giving until you felt completely secure again. Now, you adjust without erasing it entirely. You might give less during a lean month, but you still give something. Even the smallest consistent amount keeps the habit alive and reminds you that generosity is part of who you are, not just something you do when life feels easy. When you make generosity part of your definition of success, you also start to see achievement in layers. The first layer is security, making sure your needs are met and you have protection for the unexpected. The second layer is comfort, being able to enjoy life and spend without constant anxiety. The third layer is contribution, knowing your life and resources are touching others in a meaningful way. This layered view brings a deeper kind of satisfaction than any single milestone. Generosity also changes your relationship with comparison. When you measure success by your ability to give, you stop comparing your financial progress to someone else's numbers. You know that wealth is not only about accumulation, it is about alignment with your values and the effect you have on the world around you. That realization can be more freeing than reaching any traditional financial target. You might also notice that generosity changes how you think about the future. Your plans start to include dreams that are not just for you. You might want to create opportunities for others, fund something that matters to you, or leave a legacy that reflects your values. These goals give your financial journey a purpose that reaches far beyond your own lifetime. Living this way creates a balance between having enough for yourself and knowing you have enough to share. It replaces the old scarcity mindset with a quieter, steadier confidence. You no longer feel that every dollar must be held tightly for fear of loss. Instead, you see money as something that can move toward safety, toward joy, and toward impact. The next chapter will bring all these ideas together, the lessons from building protection, moving into creation, and embracing generosity into a vision of a financial life that feels safe, meaningful, and deeply your own. We will explore how to carry this balance forward so that your relationship with money continues to serve both your needs and your dreams in the years ahead. By now, you have walked through many seasons of your financial life. There was a time when every decision was about survival, when the focus was on protection above all else. You learned to prepare for the unexpected, to keep yourself from slipping back into uncertainty. That stage taught you discipline and awareness, even if it sometimes came with fear. Then came the shift into creation, the point where you started to build, not just defend. You began making choices that reflected your values and allowed you to shape the life you wanted. You gave yourself permission to plan for joy, for growth, and for opportunities. You understood that safety was important, but so was living fully. And in recent chapters, you embraced generosity. You learned that your definition of success could include the ways you touched the lives of others. You saw how giving, even in small ways, could make your financial life richer in meaning. You began to measure progress not only by what you kept, but by the impact you created. Now, these pieces come together into something larger, a financial life that truly feels like your own. It is not built on someone else's checklist of achievements. It is not shaped by fear or comparison. It grows from the foundation you have laid, guided by your values, and it reflects the balance you have created between security, enjoyment, and contribution. Living a life that feels like yours means that your money choices are not random or reactive. They are connected to a clear sense of what matters to you. You spend on things that align with your priorities. You save for both protection and possibility. You give in ways that reflect your vision of the future. Every decision has a thread that ties it back to who you are and what you want your days to feel like. This alignment does not mean perfection. There will still be months when plans need to shift, when unexpected costs appear, or when income changes. But now, those moments no longer feel like a threat to your identity. They are part of the natural flow of life. You know how to adapt without losing sight of your direction. You trust yourself to make choices that keep you moving forward. In this stage, you also start to notice how much your relationship with money has softened. It no longer feels like a constant source of tension. It is a partner in your daily life, supporting the experiences and security you care about. You have room to breathe, to make plans without panic, and to enjoy what you have without fear of losing it all. The freedom in this stage comes from knowing you are living on purpose. You are not waiting for a certain number to give you permission to start living. You are living now, making choices each day that reflect your values. This is what it means for your financial life to be truly yours. It supports not only your survival, but also your joy, your growth, and your contribution. The next step is to hold on to this balance as life changes. There will be new opportunities, challenges, and seasons ahead. In the conclusion, we will look at how to keep these lessons alive so that your relationship with money continues to grow with you. We will see how the foundation you have built, from protection to creation to generosity, can support you for the rest of your life. You have walked through a long, quiet journey tonight. You began in the place where money felt heavy, where every decision carried tension, and every thought about the future seemed uncertain. You explored the years of protection, when your only goal was to keep things from falling apart. You learned that this stage, though sometimes exhausting, was necessary. It gave you the strength and skills to stand on steady ground. From there, you stepped into creation. You allowed yourself to imagine a life that was more than survival. You shaped your plans around what mattered most to you. You began to see that money could do more than shield you. It could build for you. It could create space for joy, connection, and growth. And then you reached generosity. You saw that success could be measured not only by what you keep, but also by what you share. You understood that giving of money, time, and energy could deepen your sense of abundance. You learned to plan for generosity so it could live alongside your safety and your goals. Through all of these stages, you discovered something important. Your worth was never in the numbers. It was never in the size of your account, the value of your possessions, or the pace of your progress. Your worth has been here all along, in your choices, in your persistence, in the way you have continued to care for yourself even in difficult seasons. You also learned that money is not a single story. It changes with you. In some seasons, you will focus more on safety. In others, you will pour energy into building. At times, you will give more. At times, you will hold more. Each shift is part of a larger rhythm, and none of them take away from the truth that your relationship with money is yours to shape. Now, as you close this chapter, you can carry forward a new kind of confidence. You know how to protect yourself without living in fear. You know how to create without losing balance. You know how to give without losing stability. You can trust that the foundation you have built will hold, even when life changes again. If you remember one thing from this journey, let it be this: you are worthy at every stage. Worthy when you are protecting, worthy when you are creating, worthy when you are giving. Your worth is not waiting for you at some future milestone. It is here in the way you show up for yourself now. Tomorrow, the details of your life will continue. Bills will arrive, income will come in, choices will be made, but something will be different. You will see those choices in the light of your values. You will know that every decision is a chance to align your money with the life you want to live. And when challenges return, as they always do, you will not lose your way. You have walked this path before. You know how to pause, to adjust, and to keep moving in the direction that feels right. You know that no single moment defines your worth, because your worth is not a number. It is a truth you carry within you. So tonight, let yourself rest in that truth. Let your breathing slow, your shoulders soften, and your mind settle into the quiet. You have done enough for today. You have learned, reflected, and seen the bigger picture of your financial life. You are safe to rest. And tomorrow, you will wake with the knowledge that your story with money is still being written. It is a story that can hold both stability and joy, both giving and receiving, both care for yourself and care for others. And each choice you make will be part of shaping a life that feels truly yours.